With regard to the question of the equipment for the Northampton Police, this gets to a different question that the ACLU is concerned about, having to do with militarization of police. And of course, the councilors are all familiar with how the Obama administration did try to put an end to this equipment coming down from the military to local police departments. And I would suggest that if there's that kind of equipment at issue here, that it makes no difference whether it's purchased on the open market or it comes from surplus military equipment. That said, I'm not taking a position with regard to any specific equipment because we don't know what it is. And what I would like to suggest to the council is that this process is actually deficient, and that to be considering what is a policy matter in the context of a capital improvement budget that doesn't look really like a capital improvement but an ordinary expense for the police department is not a very effective way to actually consider the issue. The issue as a policy matter is what's necessary and appropriate equipment for the Northampton Police Department, what's necessary for the safety of the officers, what's necessary for the safety and protection of the citizenry of Northampton, what is the history of this equipment. Do other police departments in the area have this equipment? Is this simply the norm or is this outside the norm? And I think that if we have that conversation where that information is disclosed, this council will come to a logical, sensible, rational decision that is in the interest of all of us. Thank you.
This just seems so ludicrous to me. It bogs my, just even in fiscal responsibility, not to mention the myriad other reasons and proved reasons why these kinds of equipment just is not where we need to go. We don't need to continue doing business as usual. Business as usual has gotten this country to where it is right now. So I just want to know why you are allowing just to say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm never going to use that, but we need it maybe. If I ever said that to one of my bosses, they'd be like, you're nuts. And that was even for $2,500 purchase of office supplies. So please, please consider even just the fiscal responsibility of knowing and getting a detailed list, even if it's just to the counselors. We have a responsibility to know what is here and what they have in their arsenal.
I will say that I walked in here feeling that having pursued an education around this issue, because my own experience of our police department and our city council in relationship to the police department is one that's been personally very positive, and on a community basis with protests and everything else, my experience has been very positive. And I have been upset to read about the, well, what has felt like the demonizing of our police department. And so I've gotten more educated, and I've also just even listened in the last 10 minutes. And I do want to suggest that I do think a pause is in order in view of how this issue is landing in our community. And that I think that we can do this too. In addition to protecting the people with temporary protected status, we can communicate to our city at large that we hear you, and we are going to attend in a way with the nuance that this requires in this time in our political lives across the, I mean, that's being manifested here in this country. Yes, it hasn't come up before. It's not surprising it's coming up now. There's a reason it's coming up now, a really good, compelling reason. Never mind whether or not we have the most awesome police department in the universe, which I don't mean to suggest it's not without fault, and every institution makes mistakes. It needs to be held accountable. There needs to be a vigilance, but we do know we have a fundamentally supportive, community-oriented police department. In my experience, that's what I can attest to. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be hearing what we're hearing, and we shouldn't be figuring out a way to navigate this and hold the police department accountable while we're also protecting our public safety. I think we can do both. So I encourage you to try to figure your way out through this one, and I appreciate your work to do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.